Hey, Mike Walsh from Straight Path Solutions. It's been a while since we've talked last. Sorry about that. Been busy. A couple blog posts and some other stuff going on. Anyway, it's Friday. Woohoo! And it's rainy. Boo. So last time I did a video, I think I was wearing a sweater in June in New Hampshire. Well, I actually threw a sweater on here. It's not a very good-looking sweater, but it's a sweater here in New Hampshire in June. Kind of sit around the house and get warm sweater. Anyway, I want to just share maybe three, maybe two tips based on some client calls this week, both new clients and existing clients, of two or three tips that you can use to save money. So two, maybe three tips of things you can do to not hire me. Now, I like doing work. I enjoy what I do for work. I like keeping my employees paid. Straight Path likes having customers. But I'm going to give you a couple tips if life's too busy and it just doesn't make sense for you to have consultants. So before I do that, just for people who care, a quick update on the farm. We actually just had a goat born. Actually, down in the comments, maybe I'll throw a picture of the goat. But we had a baby goat born here for the first time. So now we've had baby pigs, lambs or sheep. So piglets we've had born here. We've had lambs born here, quite a lot actually. We've had calves, baby cows born here. Two, I believe, two. And no chickens born here. We eat all the eggs, I guess, before it's time. And I think that's all the animals. And now we've had a baby goat, so a goat kid, really really cute. Oh man, so cute. Only problem is I had a blog post a while ago about fences, and I talked about the psychological impact of fences. Well, here's a tip: when you build a fence, you should build it right. So my fence is built wonderfully for sheep. It's built wonderfully for adult goats. It's built wonderfully for cows, it seems like so far. Alpacas, the guard alpaca. Even chickens. Baby goats, goat kids are pretty small. So the 4-inch by 3-inch stays on the fences, even the electric fence, that little goat kid, he's a buckling, so he's a boy, so that means he's trouble already. He can just go right through the fence. So we've discovered that 2 times today. He was born yesterday, and he's already trying to explore the neighborhood. So I might be playing some fence games this weekend. Anyway, you don't care about my farm. You care about SQL tips. Here they are. And I'll probably write a blog post. Actually, there's many blog posts about these already. So either I'll take one I've written already, find one that somebody else wrote, or maybe do a video explaining it. Here they are. These are really simple, and I'll probably do some more of these because these are just tips things we find all the time when a client calls up and says, "Help, it hurts," or when a client calls up and says, "Can you look at my SQL server? Can you do a health check? And can you tell me what's wrong with my SQL server?" I say, "Yeah, I love doing health checks. We do great health checks, and we'll do one for you." But here's a couple tips. Number one, Scalar UDFs. So user-defined functions is when you take all this logic or code that you want to reuse. Modularity is really good. People say, especially developers say, I hate having to type the same code twice. So if every time you see a user ID, you want to do something to get their maybe employment start date or some concatenation of something about them, you just know that you want to input your user ID into the function and have the function do some work, and the output of the function is the additional columns. Well, if you do that a lot of places, it makes sense to put into a UDF because modularity. You don't want to have to keep reusing the same code everywhere. Now you change something, you have to go and change it in all those different spots. There's lots of alternatives out there. The problem with the Scalar UDF is very simple. When you use it in the select list, when you use it in the where clause, it gets executed one time for every row that comes out. So if you have a Scalar UDF that's really, really efficient, let's say it's kind of efficient. We can make it better. Let's say it's 10 milliseconds just because the math's easier. So 10 milliseconds is not horrible, but it's not great. For an OLTP query, if it's run a lot, you might want that to be a millisecond or less. But let's just say it's 10 milliseconds just because the math's easier. And your select list has 2 rows. Okay, well, that's 20 milliseconds because, again, that code runs once for every. So let's say it's 10 CPU ticks, 10 milliseconds, and 100 reads. And I'll probably change my number because I didn't write it down. But let's say it's executed. So you have 2 rows in your select list. Okay, it's 20 milliseconds of time, 20 CPU ticks, and 200 logical reads, 200 8 kilobyte reads. Who cares? Multiply it by 1,000. So now you have 10,000 milliseconds of query time, 10,000 CPU ticks, and 100,000 reads, 8K reads. The reads aren't terrible at that point, but that duration is 10 seconds. So this query, returning whatever you're trying to return to your customer, now takes 10 seconds. If the inner select takes 1,000 rows, you might say, yeah, but I'm doing a top, or I'm doing an order by, or I'm doing some row functions, or row ranking. Who cares? The select list is still run once first, and then the top happens. So if your select list returns 1,000,000 rows, and then you do a top on it, or you do something else to filter the results further, that's still 1,000,000 rows times 10 milliseconds. So many people call me up and say, I'm having some trouble. Can you help me? And I'll look and I'll say, hey, have you heard of Scalar UDFs, and do you know the problem with them? I say, yeah, I've heard about it. Tell me more about the problem. And I'll go into their code and I'll take the Scalar UDF out and replace it with Mike, or with the value of it. And I'll say, watch this. This query takes 10 minutes, now it takes 1 millisecond, because we're not running that function all the time. Seriously, folks, that's huge. It's really, really big, and it kills people all the time. I've made a lot of money, and sadly, I probably will still make a lot of money taking Scalar UDFs out of people's code. So don't pay me to do that. Do it yourself. You can take that code and you can inline it. So take the code that would have run and just call it directly. That's sort of the really easy approach. You could look at using temporary objects. You could look at using maybe some table functions and joining to the data to kind of keep it set based. There's a lot of things you can do. The point is, don't think Scalar UDFs. I'm not going to say don't use cursors, but don't use cursors. A Scalar UDF, most of you know, cursors are bad and they're rotten. Unless you're an Oracle DBA, then you're all messed up in the head anyway. No, I'm joking. Sort of. But Scalar UDFs, cursors, man, I lost my train of thought. Had a little moment of brain gone there for a second. Anyway, I did it again. Cursors are row-by-row processing, and most of us know row-by-row processing is bad. There's that whole rebar, row by agonizing row. If you have to touch a row if you have to touch a table multiple times, once for every row, and you're cursing through it, that's probably something you can do differently. Most people know that. Well, a Scalar UDF turns your query into a cursor. Also can prevent parallelism. There's a lot of other problems that come with it. So I've seen a lot of problems with it. And just this week I saw two new customers, both with some pain based on Scalar UDFs. I told you I'd give you 2 tips. So here's the other one. Update statistics. Yeah, but Mike, I have auto update statistics on. Yeah, I don't care. Update statistics manually. Rebuilding indexes, there's actually a couple schools of thought on, and I actually like what Brent Ozar has been saying, and that's not so important. There's no real debate on whether you need to update statistics or not. You do. Yes, auto create statistics is important to keep on. Auto update statistics is important to keep on. These are great settings that really help you. But your statistics only get updated if a certain number of rows change. And then the numbers change in different versions of SQL. Doesn't matter. The point is, if you don't change that many rows at one time, or cumulatively, if you don't change the rows right, your stats don't get updated. So on a weekly basis, daily basis, whenever your downtime window allows, you should try and update statistics on a regular basis. For your jobs, I use the old Hallinger maintenance scripts, I use DB Minion sometimes, but through your jobs, you should go in and update statistics. That gives the query optimizer the most important and up-to-date information about your data, about the way your data is arranged, about your cardinality, about your uniqueness, all these things the statistics know, and they help form the best query plan. So there's 2 tips. If you updated statistics on a regular basis, if you stopped using Scalar UDFs, there's other things I can do, and we'll give you some more tips. But if you guys change those 2 things, some of you wouldn't need consultants anymore. Seriously, it's that easy. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be sitting at the track tomorrow. My 9-year-old boy just started doing track just a few weeks ago, and the regional meets for this little rec center track is happening tomorrow. There's about 25 schools going to be there. And I'm going to watch him run the 50 and the 100. And this is my first time as a parent going to a regional meet. So some of my track and swim friends have told me that you basically will be sitting around for about 10 to 12 hours waiting for the minute and a half to watch my son do the 50, the 100, and then the 4x100 relay. So he's really excited about it. He loves this. That's some great lessons for him about stick-to-itiveness, and I'm really excited too. And maybe I'll see you in the YouTube comments tomorrow from the track while I'm waiting around on my easy up, catching flies. Have a great day, and make it a good weekend. Thanks. Bye.